Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of season 2 of. Ow. No, that's not the name of the podcast. This is my co-producer Harold. He's evil today. He just decided all of a sudden he's going to attack me as we went live. Get down. So anyway, welcome to episode 7 of Unfiltered Race Fans Only. We're going to go through the Phoenix race weekend. I think we're all going to agree is by far and large the best Phoenix race we've had in a long time. Just across the whole. All the series that raced there this weekend, which was very interesting as to like how we got there. So we had Grand National, IndyCar, so it was our second doubleheader, and Cup and ARCA. So not only did we have 4 different series, we had 3 different compounds. Well, technically 4 different compounds on the track. We had Firestone, General, and then 2 different Goodyear rubber compounds because the Cup tires are totally different than the Grand National tires. So to me, going in the weekend, that was the thing I really wanted to see was how were the different tire compounds going to mesh throughout the weekend and how that would impact the racing. So with that, we could start with whichever one you want, Blake. You want to start with the Cup, work our way backwards, or how you want to do it?
Like I told you before, I didn't really watch the O'Reilly race at all.
Okay.
I haven't even seen a clip of it. So if you want, you can just start with that and kind of.
Well,
I
the
know
O'Reilly race wasn't.
but
It was the typical. O'Reilly always puts on a good show. No matter where we're at, those cars are fantastic. They were racing all over the track. Ultimately, Algar won, but he came from the back to do it, and it was impressive in the way in which he did it. And Jesse Love kept him honest there at the end, but just didn't have the car control experience at that track to overcome all the laps that Algar's had there in the past. There were definitely some different players throughout, but I didn't really get into it, like really start to enjoy it until we got to the third stage where they kind of widened out. We got more options, more racing lanes. So, which being that they ran directly after the IndyCar race, I was curious how their tires were going to take, and it worked out surprisingly well with the IndyCar rubber being down and their rubber. I was worried whether or not it would be super slick and how they'd be able to hold on. So I do want to talk about the double weekend though, just in general. Saturday we had both those series on the track, but as they're talking about it, apparently the garages were off limits even to the competitors. So Indy guys couldn't go, and Cup guys couldn't go, and Indy guys. Like, if this is,
I question that. Like, you're wanting to blend them together, but you don't want them to talk to each other. It doesn't make any.
Everything was locked down, and I just thought that was very for what we're trying to do to raise the rising, tide lifts all boats. This is this great motorsports of America weekend right here, because you've got 4 different series on track, 3 of which under the NASCAR umbrella, and then the Pinnacle IndyCar open wheel series within the country. I would think you'd want as much cross pollination as possible, and instead, they were kind of off limits. They were not just kind of, they were off limits to each other. I did enjoy the racing broadcast though, where they brought in Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell, and that was to hear their perspective on the racing. And how they perceived it.
Every week. I could listen to them every week.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Hinch is already a broadcaster anyway, some of the times, so he was already very polished. But just hearing their perspectives on our racing versus, our guys who maybe are just too into it, that they, you kind of forget what you have, or you overlook things that maybe are more important than they appear to you because you've been doing it for so long. So. That's not Prime. That looks like orange juice.
It's I forgot to grab a Prime, and probably better for me right now anyway.
Well, hold on. I got to for this weekend, especially. This episode is brought to you by Body Armor, delivered via ass whooping of Blaney, with the speed of the 12 team. So
the 3-wheel terror.
Yep. So, there really wasn't, too much chaos in the Xfinity race or O'Reilly race, I will say it was, the IndyCar race was what was the interesting one because you had wrecks by people who don't typically wreck and make mistakes. So you actually had, Newgarden won, where everybody was expecting it to be the Pelot show as usual. So,
Well, Pelot got wrecked early.
all right, he went in there and
And according to Freddie on DBC, they were all blaming Pelot for that.
Yep.
And apparently they spot differently in IndyCar.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. They just have a different way of clearing each other, and
it's weird that somebody gets run up into the wall and it's their fault.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me, like at all.
Well, it's kind of like there's no blocking if you've got the overtake going type stuff. They're just different how they race. So
yeah.
Yeah, that to me that was the big development on the Saturday more than anything was that Pelot didn't win, and he's basically been undefeatable for the last 24 36 months more or less,
pretty much,
other than little sparses here and there. He hasn't been much to, it's taken a lot for anybody to topple him from the top of the throne. So then we get to the big show. So the cup day, going into it, I knew we were going to have, this is I think what everybody's been waiting to see, was we saw tires mattered last week at Coda, because we saw Bell charge through the field there. And we could see that tire wear did matter. And what Bell wore out his tires trying to get to Van Gisbergen. Van Gisbergen had did everything he could and still couldn't get to Reddick last week when he went 3 for 3. So here we are, race number 4, and we brought back the same tires last year, but now we've got depending on the engine manufacturer, they say 30 to 50 more horsepower. Output
should be 80
tires. Well, yeah, but I mean, they're just saying like in general, like the transfers to the ground, like yeah, but it's definitely a measurable difference, and we saw that with part failures throughout the race. We saw it with tons of blown tires. And the best thing that happened out of that whole deal was that nobody got out and blamed Goodyear. And they shouldn't. Like if any team owner, driver, crew member gets out and blames it, like you're setting us backwards. Like this is what we've needed. Because if you have this kind of race through the weekend that's due to natural cautions from teams stepping over the line, overusing their equipment, in the case of Gregson with the blown brake rotor, and not having a better cooling package or whatever the total cause was for it, then all of a sudden you don't need stage cautions anymore. You don't need manufactured cautions. The racing will take care of itself. So
absolutely.
That, we got an end-to-end great race. And then on top of it, our weekend winner, Ryan Blaney, put on one hell of a show. He passed more cars than anybody because his team went to the back twice because of loose wheels. And, I thought he was going to blow a gasket.
Oh, yeah. I thought he was too.
But so stage 1 was, we'll break it down. Stage 1 was uneventful, considering in practice we saw blown tires through several teams. So what did that lead to? We get to stage 2. Everybody starts to step over the line, just like last year, but even more. So what do you think about the first opening stage, first off in practice? We'll start there.
Hey, pause it for me for a second. Sorry.
Yep. All right.
So
yep, go ahead.
Yeah. So I practice, as far as practice goes, I kind of wasn't surprised about people that were at the top and stuff like that. People that were obviously showing it. Really, the package really didn't matter much because they were still fast. Penske cars, so on. You had the Penske cars qualify first. I think the biggest surprise out of qualifying was Larson, who was 18th in practice, qualified second. Shocked the hell out of me. I know that.
Yeah.
As far as stage 1, kind of to go with that, Larson fell from second to, I think he finished stage 1 in 15th or something like that. And it was neat to see the amount of tire fall that was happening. It kind of reminded you a little bit of Richmond, um, the way that they were falling off. Um, Definitely enjoyed seeing that type of fall off, and there was a good battle for lead with the front runners there. But I really, even though it wasn't any cautions, I enjoyed the first stage for the fall off and seeing the team struggle with the tire and the horsepower that the matchup with it.
Yeah. The besides the Hendrick cars, we don't know where the Chevy body stacks up yet. We haven't had enough data yet to see that across all the various races that we've had so far in the first four. But I was surprised the Hendrick cars qualified, where they did, and then I was also surprised with Joey Logano's qualifying effort. I mean, Penske's been strong there, but of the Penske cars, Joey has not been the best by any means, even though he's managed to score 2 championships under this form. Well, all 3 of his championships under this format that we just abandoned. Their team performance has been very much a only hit it when absolutely necessary. And with this new format, this was one of the first things I wanted to see. How would they qualify? How would they run? And then prior to the incidents caused by Joey, just being super aggressive, which is what I wanted to see. This is the Joey Logano we used to see, where every point matters. Like he doesn't give an inch, and he races super aggressive. But I think because he hasn't had to do that in a while, he's going to have to relearn some things.
Yeah, he's a little out of practice, and it's obvious.
Yep. He's definitely out of practice, and some of the stuff he did caused some incidents. He lived by the sword and he died by the sword. He caused one big one, and then later it took same kind of thing, kind of took him out. So, the hit and that was in stage 2. So we start stage 2. Teams say, okay, well, we didn't have any major tire failures. Let's take it down a quarter pound, a half pound, whatever. Now we start to see failures. We see cars spinning out because they're stepping over the edge. We see cars blowing tires. That was when Briscoe blew his, right? It was in the second stage, I believe.
It might have been third.
I have to go back and look, but
early on the third, maybe.
But I was surprised to see Briscoe have hit the tire issues he did, because last year they had issues as well, and I didn't expect them to come back and have them again. I figured they would have changed their setup, but we are going into the corners faster, and we are.
Well, his was a brake failure.
Was it? I thought it was a tire, and then it led to
Yeah, you could see that it picked up speed. It just he didn't have any brakes.
Okay.
And I honestly thought we were going to see that with Reddick, because Reddick said it was going to the floor.
Yeah.
With like 80 to go or something. So I was shocked that he didn't end up like that.
Yeah. So the wreck where Joey gets taken out, or no, the wreck where Cindric and them get taken out.
Yeah.
That hit that Alfredo took sandwiched and lifted the 48 up in the air. What a hit. And the hit that Cindric took, like head on the wall.
Cindric went airborne as well.
Yeah, those were big hits.
I've never been airborne going straight into a wall.
Yep, like those cars were 2 or 4 tires off the ground when they connected. That was pretty wild. Which
that's one of the hardest hits.
Shows you how fast they're going, even though the higher horsepower actually makes them go slower because they can't carry the speed, so they have to slow down. So, and talking about it beforehand, like, well, let's give them another 100. Let's go to 850.
So, I gotta ask you, with that wreck, with where Chastain got pegged by Logano.
Yeah, it comes up.
IndyCar does not allow them to go below the yellow line.
Yep.
Do you see NASCAR ever outlawing going below the yellow at Phoenix?
I don't think they will. I do think they should. It's not part of the racing surface. That it wasn't designed that way when they redid the track and moved the front stretch to the back and the back to the front. Turned it to basically more of a traditional D-shaped oval design, even though the physical layout of the track didn't change. The banking did, and then they moved the start-finish line from the back to the front. And as a result, when we used to run before they paved that section, and when we used to start on the opposite end, nobody ever went there. You had these elongated laps, and you didn't have that what they would argue is excitement of 4 and 5 wide plus or more going down there. But I mean, we've seen it time and time again. And I was telling Mitch this. I was like, I absolutely hate that they run down there on the dog leg. Me personally. My logic for it is the damage it does to the cars and how expensive these cars are. You complain about the cost of the underbody and everything like that. You're slamming them off in the transitions and it's destroying them.
The damage it does to the body.
Yeah,
the body of
the
person
body.
driving it.
And the prior version of this car, it would rip the the quarter panels out, stuff like that, flare them out. Then they would get penalized for that. But yeah, the underbody damage does, the side body damage it does, how it unsettles the car, which ultimately leads to the wreck we saw. That transition, that sharp transition.
Yeah, these cars are too rigid for it.
It makes for some wild passing, but it also ups the ante and the risk factor a lot. If you can't drive below the yellow line at Talladega and Daytona, why can you drive literally to the pit wall and the infield wall here? I'm sure plenty of fans would be against us outlawing that. I'm against it because of how it damages the cars and how it leads to these kind of incidents all the time.
I asked the question because I saw on X somebody mentioned, I swear if they ever outlaw this, I'll never watch a Phoenix race again or something like that. Like that, it's the only good part about Phoenix for them and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
my favorite part of Phoenix was always the turn that comes after that dogleg section because it was so wide sweeping, all the way back to even when the track was flat. The cars would go in there and one would arc out really wide and then it would come back down and they'd come back together and so yeah.
Going back a little bit, I want to bring up the end of stage one. So I mentioned Larson. So first off, Ryan Blaney has a wheel come off. He gets penalized.
Yep.
At the end of stage one.
Yep.
I believe he won the stage, correct?
Let me look.
Pretty sure he did.
Sounds
so.
Let's go to.
So he gets penalized for a tire coming off. His first one of the day. Starts in the back. Larson also started in the back, but this Cliff goes in and he has them do an adjustment, not just under the right front, but under the right rear. It probably was a 40-second pit stop. And he went from fighting loose basically the entire way around the track to tight center. And we saw that it fixed it. Now, my question was, why didn't they do that after practice?
Right.
Like, he sucked in practice. They didn't change the damn thing. Qualified second somehow, and then they do these adjustments under a pit stop. It's kind of confusing, but I just kind of wanted to reference. You don't see very many teams doing wholesale adjustments like that on pits anymore. They don't give up. He gave up 12 or 13 spots to do that.
Yeah.
And I think under this old format, you're going to have to do that in trying to get the points needed to make the chase.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people's points right now are stage points. If we look at the points, Reddick's got 31 stage points. Blaney's got 44, 40 for Bubba Wallace. And when you look at those points alone, those 44 for Blaney are out of his 165. So, I mean, they're not quite a third, but they're more than 25. They're probably 30% of his points if I did the math real quick. Chase Elliott, 25 stage points, 128 total. They're more than 33% of his.
So Larson's in 10th in points. Can you see how many stage points he has? Because I bet it's not very
18.
many.
He's got 18 stage points for his 109. So he's not quite 20. He's probably about 15%.
Yep. So I think he's only finished inside the top 10 in the stage twice this year so far.
Byron's got 20. Hamlin's got 17. Like, those points are going to, honestly, you're not going to have the option to flip this, so this was a topic they were talking about on SiriusXM, a couple of the different shows. And again, this is why I'm glad we're back to just the points are the points are the points. This is going to partially solve the stage caution problem because it's going to fix the race strategy problem that stage cautions have destroyed. You're not going to be able to just give up a stage and flip the points and try to, like, you cannot afford to give up stage points anymore.
Nope.
You're going to have to try and get them and still win the race. Where you get the ability to possibly flip stages is when you get far enough ahead, like Tyler Reddick and Ryan Blaney and Bubba Wallace and Chase Elliott, where you have a cushion you can play with a little bit. And you might have it only for 1 week where you can maximize it. And if things don't go your way, you have to go right back down to grinding. So, like Reddick has more than a comfortable enough lead at 225 total points where he's got ways he can mess around with a little bit. But after that, he might be able to do that 2 races. And then after that, he has to go right back to whatever their regular strategy is. They can't afford to mess around too much, or you risk dropping out of the top 3, because Blaney leapfrogged Bubba with 1 win and some stage points, and Bubba ran well. So
Bubba's still 3rd in points though.
Yep,
looking good.
Oh yeah, he's still comfortable, but it just shows you, like, to the point of what the points, those stages were, to the point of the stages we're talking about here. The people who forego them, if you can't guarantee yourself that win to get those 15 points, you really can't afford to take that risk. You have to make sure you get those points somewhere, especially for people like Joey Logano, who had that, going to be racing aggressive, and as a result, stop biting me, you little asshole. Wrecked himself out. Well, good thing he got those stage points, because he would have been way worse off than he was. He only dropped 1 position. Meanwhile, Christopher Bell, with his performance and doing well in both stages and coming back to finish 2nd, he jumped 18 spots in the points in 1 race.
Yep.
So, and the one thing about that is, we'll get to the 3rd stage in a minute, but the one thing about how the stages and the points bonuses are going to work, the further along we get, the harder it's going to be able to make up those pieces of ground in giant chunks. Like, I figure, based on what we're seeing, I think you got till about race 10, maybe 12, so about halfway, where you better have claimed some of your ground back and gotten yourself close to the position, because after that, it's going to be a very big uphill battle to get the rest. Yep. Bowman is right now, he might as well have basically not run the first 4 races. He's only got 23 points.
And he's not running this weekend.
And he's not running this weekend. So, and in the races he has run, he hasn't finished very well. So the question then becomes, there's a couple questions for that I want to talk about after we're done, but with the race itself. So I felt bad for Alfredo, though, and because he got collected in that wreck. He had finally gotten up into the top 10. We're going to see what he can do.
What, 7th, 5th, or 7th when that happened?
Yeah, he was in that top 10 cluster when he got wrecked, and we were going to see what he could do. So that was going to be interesting to me. I'm trying to get back to my camera, Harold. Stop.
I'm kind of shocked that they're not using him for Vegas this weekend. It's kind of
I was surprised
mind-boggling.
Being that I was really surprised too that he didn't get that job. That they're putting Allgaier in there. I could partially understand it because of the JRM alliance, but at the same time, what's the harm? Alex is already, the 48 is already buried in the points in general, so why not give him a shot? Take a risk. So
what did you think of the Logano wreck where he went off of Allmendinger's nose? I mean, that's obviously his doing, right?
Oh yeah, that was his own, of his own making. He didn't give an inch earlier. I wouldn't expect it. He basically self-cleared himself, and he was wrong. He was, too close. You're expecting somebody else to save you, and you don't save other people. Like, why? Grace is given to those who give it, basically. So, that's part of that whole you race how you get raced, and the closing rates with these cars with the more horsepower going in the corners and everything, just a byproduct of racing, in my opinion. His fault.
So another thing I want to talk about with this race is Kyle Busch somehow miraculously finished the 17th. 2 blown tires, lap down 2 different times. And he has SVG to thank.
Yeah.
Because both times SVG goes, "Oh, my mate's got a flat tire. Let me spin out here." I mean, that's
yeah.
Tell me that's how it looked like.
Well, that's the funny part. Like, let's look at So let's look at that. SVG spins twice, still comes back to finish well, and is solidly fifth in the points.
Yep.
If I'm the other guys who like I'm gonna like cruise my way into this thing and he's not gonna be a problem, like you're waking up this week, like we have a big fucking problem because this
SVG
guy
has
not
not
only
won a
does he,
race.
you know,
He's been in 4 wrecks this year.
Yep.
5. He's spun 5 times, been involved in an actual wreck once, and he's 5th in point.
Yep. But it shows you what kind of car control he has because when he wrecks,
Yeah.
he's not hitting everybody and he's not hitting the wall. He's not tearing his car up. And Brad Keselowski said that. So you haven't had a chance to listen to DJD yet, but this is something Brad said. He was talking to Jack Roush recently after Biffle's passing, and it was about how Jack chose Kurt Busch or Greg Biffle to get that 97 Cup ride, that 97 car when they first put him in Cup. And he said it came back to, they were both at tests and Greg would spin out, Kurt would spin out. They're both going hard and aggressive. Kurt would spin out and he wouldn't hit anything. Greg would spin out and he'd destroy my fucking car.
Oh, really?
Yep. And so I saw enough of that and he's like, well, it's going to be Kurt because at least when Kurt spins out, he doesn't tear up my shit.
That
That's
reminds
literally
me.
how, from Jack's own words, that's how Kurt got the car.
If you go back to the inaugural Kentucky race in trucks,
Yeah.
Kurt Busch started in the back, made his way all to the front, was battled for the lead, spun out, didn't hit anything. Went to the back, came back up front, did the same damn thing, but this time he destroyed that fucker. I don't know if you remember that, but
I don't remember that one, but
so
I was at Pocono.
He's in 3 and 4. I think it's 3 and 4. And he gets sideways like this, and he overcorrects, and that truck got demolished. He hit so hard he sat down beside the truck. That's how hard he hit.
I had tickets to Pocono when Kurt drove the Blue Deuce, and it was prior to the COT. And we were there, and we were watching, and I was watching him run his laps and everything. I told my dad, I was like, Kurt's going to win. And we're watching, and then Kurt spins out over the tunnel turn. Doesn't hit anything. He just hits it wrong, spins out, goes to the back, gets 4 fresh tires, goes to the back. My dad's like, guess his day is done. I said, no, he's still going to win. They're like, no, he ain't going to win. I'm like, watch. He goes back. He spins out again. Still hits nothing. And he came back and won the race. So, like, to Jack's point, like, he just had that kind of his ability, kind of like Jimmy Johnson at Dover, to spin and not hit anything. Like, there's only a few guys that could do that. And so that's been benefiting, some of these guys.
Speaking of Kurt, since we're off topic a little bit,
this
weekend the 45 is going to be win paint scheme.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty neat to see. I don't want it to win, but it'll be pretty.
Yeah. No, well, I don't think the garage wants him to win because at this point he's got a big enough lead. They need him to come back a little bit. Small batches, 10 points here, 12 points there. So
Ryan Blaney came through the field twice to win this race.
Yeah.
To kind of curb tail back into the race. He had tire come off left rear twice.
Yep.
And go to the back twice and still comes back to win. Now, does he win if Christopher Bell takes 2 tires like everybody else does?
I don't know. I think it would have been close. I do think if we didn't have that last caution that Bell probably wins because he would have had a couple more laps to get through it that he wouldn't have lost caution. But
that last caution brought him closer.
No, I agree. He benefited from it, but also the speed of the long run for the tires. Blaney took 2 to Bell's 4. I don't know because when Bell took it, and we were I think we were like 24 laps to go when the caution came out, and Bell came down and took 4 tires, and then we got going, and then we had another quick caution. I think if it had gone out, it was going to be interesting because Blaney had good speed, but it took a little bit for his car to fire off in the initial goings. His car wasn't lightning fast right off the restart every time. Because you saw that he would come out and he'd be on the front row or second row and he'd fall back and then he'd march his way back through, where Bell was able to have that speed. So I would have been interested to see how that would have worked out. Even if there was just 5 more laps, what was going to happen when Bell gets to Blaney? Because was it Blaney? Was it Bell leading when? Yeah, it was. Bell was leading, and he got just knocked up enough out of the way right when the caution came out the time before, and Blaney was about to take the lead.
Yeah.
So
I just wonder what it's going to take for Gibbs to understand Gibbs' organization as a whole. I mean, obviously the 54 learned. They took 2 tires.
Yep.
But the 20 didn't learn from the 11 last fall.
Yeah. I mean, well, and so I'm torn because I agree. Two tires was obviously the winning call, but I don't know that it's the winning call if that last caution didn't come out. The 4 tires maybe prevails, but we'll have to wait till next time and see what happens. But I do think that with the amount of laps, you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah.
We saw tires really were that valuable with the way people were blowing them, either just overutilizing them when parts would fail, like the brake failure for Gregson, the failure and the heat and cooling problems that were caused by some of them. That's what I want to see. I want to see the crew chiefs have to make a decision. I'm going to give you speed, but hopefully our setup's not so aggressive, or hopefully you're not sliding the fronts, and that you can keep it under you. So I thought it made for a fantastic race. When Bell was running him down at the end, I was actually like sitting there nervous. I'm like, I don't know. It depends. I couldn't tell if his tires had given up on him yet, or if he was just trying to find the right line to get there. But I was happy to see Blaney win. So,
yeah, I was just glad. I gotta say this. So at the beginning of the race, so after last week, I told my wife, I said, "Don't worry, Phoenix is one of Reddick's worst tracks. They ain't gonna win there." By God, halfway through stage 1, Larson's falling back, and here comes the 45, picking them off. I was like, "You
here comes all the Toyotas."
Yeah. Yeah. But I was like, you've got to be kidding me. We're going to see a 45 win again. I literally thought that the first stage.
Yeah, in the first stage, I really thought, I was like, okay, so it's going to be a Toyota show, and we'll see. What I can't figure out is, so we can look at, Cindric and Logano, theirs were wrecked. They weren't tire issues. So Penske's definitely got the tire balance figured out for this track with the soft tire and knows where the number needs to be for their setup. What I can't understand for the life of me is, how is it Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs, and Bell can keep their tires under them, that James Small can't? You get the same access, the same data. You clearly, your camber selection, whatever you're doing, ain't going to work with this tire. Yeah. And Briscoe has had, let me pull up my sheet, but I believe it's now 4 or 3 last place finishes, just due to how things are going. You can't keep burying yourself here.
Yeah.
Let's go to Briscoe. Briscoe, the 19. Yeah, 3 last place finishes. He had 1 good race.
4 races, that's not good.
In 4 races, he's accumulated. Out of 4 races, he's accumulated 3 points total out of 3 of them, and 43 out of the other, for a total of 46 points. Like, that's okay. You're basically, your fuck around time is over. Because to what we were saying earlier, the further we go and the more spread out these guys get, Briscoe, I have no doubt, will make the top 16. I don't think he's going to be a championship contender. I think you've already squandered all your stuff, unless serious.
You got to be in the top 6. You got to be in the top 6 to have any sort of shot to win the chase.
Yeah, you're going to have to be. Yeah, you're going to have to be in the top, and you can't afford to have these mulligans. And Phoenix, where are we going before we go to the final race? Right back here with this same tire and this same horsepower. So, hey, that's 2 races in a row. James Small done fucked it up.
Yeah.
Where, easily had one of the fastest cars and nothing to show for it. So, let's see.
So I gotta ask you about your thoughts on Ty Gibbs' post-race comments.
Yeah,
jabbing without jabbing.
Yeah.
That was, I know we're not really big Ty Gibbs fans around here, but that was so eloquent. It was amazing.
Yep. I finally have the right guys around me and people that believe in me. And, I don't blame him for feeling the way he feels. any more than I don't blame the people that are in Joe Gibbs Racing that feel the way they feel that have left. Where, I mean, if you take his last name away, any other driver would be out of that seat right now. And you can look at it. Eric Jones, Matt Kenseth, you know, and these are championship drivers at either the Xfinity nationwide level or the cup
Look at
level.
what happened with, let's go back even
Logano.
further.
Yep.
JJ Gilly.
Yep. Yaley in there, gone, you know, like Gibbs has a long notorious history of yanking talent out of there that doesn't produce until it comes to his son or his grandson.
Yeah, I still don't understand why they got rid of Bobby Labonte when they did. If we
So,
want to go back even farther, like
yeah,
some of their decision making makes no sense at
no,
all.
absolutely. I will say I was impressed by Ty Gibbs' performance this weekend. You know, he didn't do Ty Gibbs things. He didn't inject himself. When Bell got to him, he didn't run him as hard as he would have last year or the year before. Like when Denny Hamlin punted his ass, you know, where were that? Gateway, I think it was.
Yeah.
It's Gateway. So, you know, he's learning and maturing from that. You know, I do have to say, you know, when we're judging Ty Gibbs, you know, he does deserve a little bit of latitude because it was only, you know, handful of years ago he wins a championship and loses his dad in the same 24-hour period.
Oh man,
And,
yeah.
you know, so I can't imagine what he's having to go through as he matures at this level without his dad there behind him. You know, that was there all the way up through his championship. I mean, there's no question kid's talented as hell from a driving standpoint. But I do think the vast majority of fans also look at it and say, where's the accountability? Because if this was somebody else we've seen, they would have already been gone. So, you know, I get he's never going to get fired, but then, you know, it's ironic that Chase Briscoe was in a 1-year deal and having to race for his seat. Meanwhile, your grandson hasn't won shit in the Cup Series. And if anything, he's cost you wins and torn up plenty of equipment. And he's no danger whatsoever of going somewhere else or just being put back down a level. You don't have to get rid of him, just put him back down a level. Give him more time to mature. You know, one really badass season in the Xfinity series doesn't necessarily make you ready for Cup. And we've seen that. It took him, till this is year 4. He's finally getting it through his head that, you know, I have to finish the races. I don't, you know, I might have a chance to win, but if it slips away from me, don't make the situation worse. So, all right. So since we're on the Gibbs topic, before we get into the points and everything, what'd you think about the revelation that Gibbs hired a private investigator?
I just don't see how they're gonna manage to keep Gabe Hart from telling secrets at a company he works for. Surely he made some of those setups with his own mind.
Yep.
And I don't know. I just think this is going to be ugly.
Yeah, I think from a
end of the day.
NASCAR garage standpoint, this is a critical case because of where we're going. Like all the teams are watching this because they're trying to figure out what do they do with their contracts for their people when they leave. I don't like the precedent that Gibbs is trying to set where, okay, you left me as a competition director, so you can't go be a competition director somewhere else. Well, that means the same thing for crew chiefs. I can't go be a crew chief. I can't be your crew chief for Denny Hamlin and then leave and go be the crew chief for Kyle Larson, for example.
Right.
Like you're directly. I don't know how they're going to win that argument, and then that's going to be okay from a livelihood perspective and the ability to earn revenue. I get that you can't take the stuff, and that's a different discussion. But as far as like barring them from performing in a specific position, I don't know how you're going to enforce that because I can just write the terms. Everybody views a crew chief differently. Every single race team, there's not a standard definition. There's it's general for a reason because what Chad Knaus and Ray Evernham, for example, did as crew chiefs is not necessarily the same thing as what Cliff Daniels or Adam Stevens or whatever. They've all got different things that like TJ is a spotter and all the data he goes over as an analytic. Every spotter ain't out there doing that. Freddie Kraft has admitted that. He doesn't go through all that crap like TJ does with all the SMT data and everything. So, or would you say that now TJ can't go be a spotter for somebody else? Like, that doesn't make any sense. We don't do
No,
this.
it doesn't make any sense at all.
So, so Bowman didn't race and scored 0 points and had a substitute. This week it's going to be the same thing. Do you think that his season is over, first off, already? Because we don't know. There's no timetable for when he's coming back, and he has a whole of 23 points, first off.
I think his career's over.
I mean, I agree. If he loses that seat, I think
really
it's
dealing with the hell's it called? He's got
vertigo.
vertigo. Vertigo don't just go away. It's sometimes takes a long time. I think his career's over. I hope I'm wrong for his sake, but I think
Yeah, I
he's
mean, I don't
done.
want to see him out of the car for anything like this. So my question for you then is, for the 48 team, right now we're now on week 2. How long do you think they go before they find somebody to fill in for the rest of the season that's permanent? Because, at the end of the day, you still have a lot of money tied up in this car and money and bonuses that are awarded to your charters, especially after the lawsuit and the redoing of the charter payout values and everything. You can't afford to just let that car sit in the back all day and flounder. You need to get it up in the points. Because even in the points, where are they? 48. They're 36th in points. They are the last charter, which means they basically are getting nothing right now.
So if I'm Rick Hendrick, I'm looking across the pond, if you will, and it's obvious to me anyway. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I know you will. Kyle Busch is not happy at RCR right now.
Yeah.
He is not happy about the Cletus Farland stuff.
Yep.
The cars aren't running that great. He's been there, 3 years now, and he's just not doing anything. So I think he's looking across and seeing maybe buy Kyle Busch out of his contract now and put him in the 48 and see what happens. That's what I would do if I was Rick Hendrick. I'm looking at what's going on in the crowd, seeing whose contract is up after this year.
And there's a lot of people.
And there's a lot of people, and seeing if I can pick one out.
Yep, pull them early
and bring him over, because I just think your guy for the 48 car is done.
Yeah, I agree. I think his career is over based off of this. That's not what I want to see. He's done well for himself in that 48 car based off the opportunity he got. He's won plenty of races, backed into plenty of them, but also gone out there and taken them. So I do feel bad that this is how his, career is going to end for him. Kind of like some of the older drivers from where they go out there, they hit the wall and they're like, you're done. You're just done. That's all you can do. When Dale Jr. did it, they got him back to normal, but he also had to make an exit plan, knowing that he couldn't continue to do this long term. So I agree with you. If I'm Hendrick, I'm looking at who's out there that's available now. That
now, if you don't pick from them, who do you go after? Because you want somebody that's going to be in the car each week to maximize points for your point, the charter value.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to have somebody that's consistent. So who do you go after?
Yeah, and you can't. I mean, no, I'm not gonna say you can't, but it's not smart to pull Allgaier in there all the time because he's racing for a championship in the second tier. So his focus needs to be there. As long as he's focusing on the cup deal, then he'll be kind of splitting his interest. In turn, at some point, you're not going to end up with the best overall outcome that way. So
the only other idea
I would love to see. I'm with you. I would love to see him go get Kyle Busch. I don't know how feasible that is. I mean, RCR, is a man about his agreement, so Rick would have to find something to fill that gap. I mean, but then again, he's got Jesse Love and Austin Hill sitting there waiting in the wings to fill that 8 car.
Yep.
So
here's my question to you. If
yep.
you don't do that, do you do a Joe Gibbs 2005 move? And so in 2005, Joe Gibbs ran Denny Hamlin some races, and he ran, I think it was JJ Yeley some races.
Yep.
In the 11, obviously, he hired both of them the next year. So do you do that? Do you take Raja Caruth sometimes or every other week, and then take Corey Day and see what you have there for next year?
Yeah.
You're already sponsoring them.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a couple. I mean, you do have options down there at the JRM, building ground, if you will, between, like you said, Caruth, Day. I would throw Carson Quaffle in that mix as well. Like, these are guys who have won and shown capability to win. And, if you're going to give somebody a shot, I mean, why not bring from one of those? That, especially when you've got Caruth and Carson Quaffle, specifically those two, where I wouldn't bring up Corey Day yet. I think he needs more seasoning just because of the lack of asphalt time. I think he needs probably 2 seasons, but Caruth and Quaffle I would look at with serious consideration, because they're both running partial schedules in JRM stuff anyway, and the rest of the time they're split between other cars. So what's their real championship viability if you keep hopping these guys around? Throw them in the Cup car. See what happens. You may find your next Jimmy Johnson type person, or that maybe didn't fit the bottom 2 tiers all that well, but is a superstar at this level.
And the only other thing you have hanging over your head on that is Ally. So if Ally doesn't like it, there's something that to me would be obvious that you could do. You can move Hendrick cars to the 48.
Yep.
I'm sure Ally would love to be at the front of the pack every week with Larson.
That's what I would do. I would be like, how do you feel about being on the 5? And
that is an obvious win-win. You find your new driver for the 48, and you appease a sponsor.
If they could steal Corey Heim, I would steal Corey Heim, but that's not going to happen. But I mean, he would be my number 1 pick of people I could put in that car right now. That's more or less a free agent. That's not full time in anything this year. Like, I would go get Corey Heim and put him in that 48 car.
Denny Hamlin is not going to allow him to sit in a Hendrick Motorsports car.
I don't know. I mean,
if he does, I will send you a $10 bill.
I'm not saying he would ever allow it, but I think there's a remote possibility, because at the end of the day, Denny's looking at Corey, obviously long term for his program. But if I can't put him in a car, and it's my best interest to continue to develop him as much as possible, he's not developing and he's sitting parked. Well, what better way for him to learn than to be in the competition? And he can bring that information back to me too. What he does learn, he can bring back to me. How do their cars drive differently than ours? Because you've driven ours, So, but I mean, if I'm Rick, I'd be going to try and steal him right now. Because I'm trying to think of who all his contracts are up at the end of the year, and I honestly don't know. I think all the front row guys are safe because they all signed multi-year deals. Hocevar's off the table. Larson's off the table. And who else recently signed a long term? I think Chase's is already up.
I got a way to look at everybody. So Austin Cindric's deal is up at the end of the year, supposedly. Austin Dillon, that don't matter.
Yep. Is Eric Jones's up?
Well, he's another number 8 right now.
Okay.
Kyle Busch is up at the end of this year.
Yep, that one I know.
Chase Elliott is only signed through next year.
Oh, okay.
Ty Dillon, garbage. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. Apologize.
You're not wrong. I would not waste that seat on Ty Dillon.
Is a 26 question mark. Apparently, not sure on that one. Christopher Bell maybe. I'm not sure.
Oh man, if you could get Bell and Larson under the same roof, whoo!
Um, here,
What about Barry? Is Barry up?
scroll back up. Barry is in a multi-year deal starting last year, so I'm
Okay.
assuming he's got one more year.
Okay.
Um, Todd Gilliland's up. Riley Herbst is a question mark. Uh, let's see. John Hunter is a question mark. Eric Jones is a question mark for 26. So yeah,
Is Chris Busher re-signed already?
he's a question mark.
Okay. McDowell.
Tyler Reddick is
He ain't
not
going nowhere.
re-signed yet.
Not unless they can't afford him. He ain't going nowhere. And they'd be
Bowman,
silly to let him go.
Bowman's contract is up this year.
Yeah. That's why I think no matter what happens, I think he's
And
out of a job anyway.
Ally is signed through 2028. All races through 2028.
Well, then I would say they're getting a new driver. But I am curious, like I said, I brought it up from the perspective of not for next year, but for this year. We're only 4 races in. There's still 30 more races.
Michael McDowell is possibly this year. And then let's see. SVG and Connor both are signed through 27 question mark.
But like if I look at where the 48 is, both in points as a driver and in points as a team, I mean, you could bring in a guy that hasn't started a race all season, put him in, and have him declare
Corey
cup points. Yeah, you can put Corey LaJoy in there.
LaJoy from, but he's got to deal with RFK right now. He's our backup driver, but I don't think Brad would care.
No, I don't see Brad stopping him. But like I agree. Like you put somebody in there who hasn't declared cup points that could declare cup points, that is eligible to declare them. You still got 32 races, of which you've got 22 more to at least climb your way in the top 16, which is still doable. Things are still tight enough where you could still do that. But Alex is going to miss probably the next 3 races at least, is my guess, if not the rest of the season. So, the initial question was how long do we wait and basically forego our earnings for the year? Because, I mean, if you don't get in that top 16, you're locked out of that money. So you can't really wait too long before they get too spread out, and your battle's like an entirely uphill climb to get there. So that one's going to be, we'll see. I really don't think it'll be too many more races before we see a permanent replacement for the season. I feel like you have to, if you want to get any type of, forward momentum as a team, because they need consistency. When you're constantly having to change the cars for a different driver every week and different setups to a different driver's likeness, it's also hard to build any momentum as a team and any positive morale for the team for any types of accomplishments. That being said, I'd be perfectly fine if they put Anthony Alfredo in there. He's their test driver. He does all that work for him. Why not give him a chance?
Yeah, obviously,
he can't possibly do any worse than where they are right now.
If he's good enough to be your test driver, he's good enough to be your real driver, in my opinion. If he's working on Kyle Larson shit, if he's working on shit for William Byron
and Chase
Elliott, he's good enough to be in your damn car.
Yep.
That's how I look at it.
Agreed. And then one guy who's not on the table, but I would love it if they called him up just for the remainder of the season, Parker Kligerman. I think he would do some great things in that car for you. And he broadcasts on Saturday, so it really wouldn't interfere with Sunday. So
he works with NBC. He has a contract with NBC on Sunday.
I bet you they'd let him out of that shit.
They would too. I was just saying.
So, let's see what else. All right, so let's talk about going into Vegas now. Oh well, hold on. Did you see? It's not super a big deal, but did you see that the 51 sponsor, the Super Saver whatever.com, is now a NASCAR official sponsor? So here we go again. So that's yet another sponsor that NASCAR has stolen from a team.
When's it going to stop?
It never. But I mean, it just lends credence to what Denny was saying in the lawsuit about how in no other sport do you have to compete with your sanctioning body to be able to survive. Like that's why we need the money, because you're literally out here. Here's Rick Ware Racing, the lowest funded team. on the grid, and you just took their primary sponsor. Like, appreciate you. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Now I got to go hunt for another one. All right, so we're going to Vegas. I don't remember what our predictions were for who was going to win where. I think it was because you wrote it down. I never had a chance to type it up. I have on my sheet, just for my random guess, not in this one.
Everybody had Larson.
Okay, so
All had Larson.
we all picked Larson. The one thing I forgot to totally account
Chris
for
had 12 at Phoenix.
Okay.
You had the 19.
Yeah.
You did so good.
No, I didn't do very good at all. So we all picked Larson. With what we haven't seen, this will be the first test. What we haven't seen what the Chevy body does by itself in aero in big wide arcs at higher speeds. Based off what you've seen so far, you still think we picked right?
I like you just said, we don't know. I think you'll definitely be able to tell after this weekend if if Chevy's screwed. I hope not. I think there's gonna be more. I don't think it's gonna hurt Chevy at all, to be honest with you. Surely the guy had all that wind tunnel testing before they submitted the body was good enough to keep him.
Which I guess to that point, right before the body CAD data became official for to start stamping parts, I guess NASCAR made him change something because it was too good.
Yeah.
Compared to the others. So I mean that makes me hopeful.
Yeah, me too.
Because I'm a Team Chevy guy at the end of the day. I've had drivers that drive different manufacturers that I've supported, but at the end of the day, I'm Team Chevy. So I've been
same. I mean, I grew up in a Chevy family, a Chevy guy.
Yep.
I worked for Davey Allison in a Ford.
Yep. We've had lots of Cadillacs and Chevrolets in our family.
So,
some GMCs. Like we very much, between Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, Burton, like just Robbie Gordon, like all the different Childress drivers, like we're a Chevy family through and through. Harvick, even though he traded on me to Ford for a little while, now he's trading with me to Toyota. Damn you, Keelan. But it's okay. He'll come back around. Rick will buy him when it's time.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'm interested to see, because this is gonna be our first test for the Chevy body at a bigger track, where you're not in a pack. We'll see where they land.
I hope that a Chevy does win, because I'm tired of hearing Harvick and Boyer talk about, oh, they're still trying to figure out this body.
Yeah.
Like, figuring it out on a road course and figuring it out at Phoenix. Phoenix is more suspension based than aero. Same with at Daytona and Atlanta, those were drafting, and obviously until Larson lost his brain for a second in Atlanta, he was leading the race. So I mean, obviously it's fine there. And then he was up front at Daytona as well. So all signs for me is leading to the fact that it's fine, and we're going to basically the second or third best track. He's won 4 times there in the 5, and we all three think that that's going to happen this weekend. So
yep. So other than Bowman, who I think we agree, like his career is more than likely over, but his season's most certainly over.
Oh, absolutely.
So besides him, who's down here that you think probably their chances of rebounding to the top 16 are over? You've got Barry is 50 points back.
I never thought
Briscoe is 53. Zilich is 55 back.
I think even Zilich don't have a good race this weekend. He's done.
Yep, I agree. I still think he'll win a race this season, but I think in terms of making the top 16, I think if they don't turn that ship around and either this race or the next race, it's over. It's because they're gonna keep spreading out. I would say,
and honestly, so Brad Keselowski has 100 points.
Yep.
And 16th. Chase Briscoe has 47. If he don't have a good race, he might be done. He'd have to string him along.
Yeah, he's going to have to string along a bunch of top fives to start making up ground, plus some wins in there.
Just state in general.
Yep.
Outside of that, I don't see really anybody else that's worth mentioning.
Yeah. Cindric's not bad off yet, but
he's only 19 points out of 16th. So, you know, still surprised AJ's in there, Carson's in there.
Did you see Hocevar's tattoo?
I don't think it's real. Is that real?
I honestly don't know. It's red around it like it could be, but if he's trolling, I love it.
Uh-huh. Did you see? You saw his throwback, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's the biggest troll right there.
Oh yeah, I love that the Chili's is endorsing it. Like you got a big old yellow pepper on the back. Like this is great, and that's for Darlington. So I'm all for it. Like let's do it.
I love that teams are just basically selling NASCAR FU. We're still doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. They've got it. Who else did I see that had one?
There's a couple out there. I know there's some trucks that are doing it too.
Yep. Yeah, that was what it was. I think it was Lane Riggs' truck I saw that had one on it.
Frankie Muniz is throwing back to the 93 Amoco car. I think that's what it was.
Let's see. Blaney won stage 1. Bell won stage 2. I can't believe Blaney. Well, the loose wheel screwed Blaney on that one, but man. So on just how much Carson Hocevar's capital has risen within the sport as a whole with what he's been doing. Apparently, Monster is negotiating to become one of his sponsors, Monster Energy.
They are becoming a
personal service, but
personal service sponsor.
Even still, we know how that starts. Well, Riley Herbst, his contract is up. We've seen him less and less on Gibbs' car. Like, I do think that if they add him to the fold, where they lose him is they probably drop 23-11 because we've seen.
If you notice, they haven't been on the 45.
That's what I was going to say.
The 45. The Beast is not on there.
Yeah, they dropped that. So not really sure why, because I mean, when they were on there, Reddick was running good. He was the regular season champion when he was running all those monster cars. So I would think you'd want the exposure, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. I think we kept it short enough overall.
Right about an hour.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens at Vegas, and how good the Chevy body holds up. I think we'll be pretty correct in our predictions, but we'll see.
Yep.
I can't believe the people that voted no in the Jeff Gluck poll. Like, what else do you want? Because I mean, that was by far away the best.
Be Ford haters. They could be Chase lovers. It could be quite a few things.
Yep.
You know, we're doing right now the same thing that people were doing with me after Atlanta because I said it wasn't a good race.
Yep.
Because I can't stand that type of crap where you have no control over your, if you get the lead, well, you're just a sitting duck.
Well, at least so, you especially, like the tire issues we had at Bristol compared to the tire issues we had here are two totally different types of tire issues and discussions. Yeah. Those tires were, basically vaporizing. And these tires are the failures aren't due to Goodyear design, they're due to teams stepping over the line.
The Bristol tire is designed to vaporize, and I don't like that.
I agree. I like the intended product that we get with the where you can't run forever on the tire, but this isn't the way to get there. I think the way we saw this weekend is how you get there. Soften it up the right way.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, appreciate your time.
I do hope going forward to that, I hope that NASCAR thinks of that and they go, okay, we've got more horsepower on the short tracks. We need to go in a different direction for Bristol.
Yeah. Maybe
try to find a middle ground from where we are and where we were and go with that.
I'm with you. Girl, what the hell are you doing, you little fat kitty? So, all right, buddy. Well, we'll see what happens this weekend, and I'll talk to you then.
Yes,
Bye,
sir.
everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys.